So we're making chicken cordon bleu. So for that, you're gonna need 6 pieces, 6 halves of chicken breast. Get that nice and thawed out, and we've actually taken chicken breast and sliced it lengthwise across, make it a little bit thinner. We want nice thin pieces of chicken for the cordon bleu recipe. So we're also going to use some ham, and so we got this from the deli. This is a peppered ham. It adds just a little extra spice to your cordon bleu pieces, and that's just nice. And then we've got some about a 1/4 pound of sliced Swiss cheese, again from the deli. I usually cut these in half while I'm working because just don't need a full length piece. Also going to need 3 tablespoons of flour and then a teaspoon of paprika. We're actually going to mix these together, just coat the chicken lightly before we put it in the pan, and that's just going to help it not to stick. Then we're also going to need 6 tablespoons of butter. You're actually going to cook the chicken in this, and that's just going to help it nice brown up, and then that'll also become part of our nice creamy wine sauce. And speaking of the wine sauce, we'll move into that next. You'll need 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, a 1/2 cup of a dry white wine. Right here we've got a Chardonnay. That works pretty well. And then a tablespoon of cornstarch, and that'll just help thicken up the sauce near the end. Now we've also got 1 teaspoon of Better Than Bouillon chicken base, and this is in place of the bouillon cube the recipe originally called for. Alright, so to start making the cordon bleu pinwheels, you're going to just take your pieces of chicken. Just going to take a tenderizing hammer and just lightly tap these out, flatten them out just a little bit more, and just tenderize the chicken a little bit. Just helps makes it taste good. So you're just going to do this with all your pieces of chicken. See with this piece of chicken here, it's a little bit thicker here, so I'm going to especially work on that section. Just try to get it even with the rest of the piece of chicken. So you just work it around a little bit, just kind of pound it out, just try to get it pretty flat. I don't want to make the chicken break apart too much. It's sticking to this cutting board a little bit, so just try to take it easy. You can even switch to the flat side of the hammer, and that just prevents chicken sticking to these spiked bits here. So to start making the pinwheels, I'm actually going to cut this piece of chicken down just a little bit more, just right in half, and that's just going to give me a good size to make the pinwheel with. Just don't want it too big, otherwise it won't cook evenly, because I got some smaller pieces of chicken over here on the plate, so I just want to make everything pretty uniform size so we get pretty even cook. Don't dry any of the chicken out too much. Okay, so I've got these 2 small pieces of chicken. Cut these pieces of Swiss cheese in half, just because I usually use a half. I'm actually going to, these pieces of chicken are pretty small, so I'm actually going to break the piece of cheese in half once again, just so it fits nicely in the middle. So I'm going to place the cheese on there. Then from a handy assistant, I'm going to get a piece of ham, and we're just going to roll that again in half. Place that on the middle of the chicken, and then I'm just going to grab the smaller piece of the chicken here. I'm going to start rolling that from the end. Nice little pinwheel. Just going to fold that in. Just bring that piece of chicken around. Try to seal it up. I'll grab myself a toothpick. I'm just going to take a toothpick and bring it through. Hold that closed. So this one's done. So I'm going to put that on my plate. It's done. I'm going to move on to the next piece of chicken. So I'm going to grab another half piece of Swiss cheese, fold it again in half just so it fits on the chicken better. Grab another piece of ham from my assistant. Fold that just so it fits nicely on the inside of the chicken. I'm going to start from the smaller side of the chicken just so that way it closes up better at the end. Bring these back a tiny bit so I have a nice little lip there. I'll fold these under and just roll, tuck, fold over like that. Grab a toothpick, slide it in there. This one's a little bigger, so I'm going to just grab another one and slide it in there. There we go, nice and sealed. Alright, so now we're at the last one. One thing I wanted to mention, you saw me just picking the cheese up directly with my hands after I've been touching the chicken. I knew I was actually going to use all the cheese in one go. Obviously, if you're going to save some cheese for a later time, make sure you just measure out enough pieces just for the amount of pinwheels that you're going to make, because you definitely don't want to cross-contaminate your chicken with your cheese. For this last one, ran a little short on the cheese, so I'm actually just going to leave this piece of chicken a little bit larger. That's okay. We've got a pretty thin piece of chicken here, so as compared to all the other pinwheels I've already got, I think this one's going to be just about the right size, so no worries there. Just roll and tuck at the end, just bring that closed, just grab a toothpick, stab it through, just be careful not to poke yourself, and just going to close this one up on both sides just to make sure that we've got a nice tight little pinwheel there. Alright, so now I've got all my pinwheels on my plate here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mix up the flour and the paprika, dust them lightly, and then we're just going to start cooking them on the stove. So now that we've got the pinwheels made, now we're just going to mix together our 3 tablespoons of flour and our 1 teaspoon of paprika into a small bowl. Just going to gently mix that together with a fork. Just get that mixed up pretty well. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take each of these pinwheels and we're just going to lightly coat it. The flour is just going to help it not stick in the pan, to the bottom of the pan. Even though we're going to have a lot of butter in there, just helps them not stick. So just lightly coat each one. Shake off any excess. Just want a nice light coating of flour and paprika. Okay, so now we've got all of our pinwheels coated in our paprika and flour mixture. So now what we're going to do is we're going to melt our 6 tablespoons of butter in a pan over medium heat, and then get these in and just brown them up. You're going to want to make sure you have a large skillet for cooking all the chicken pieces. Make sure you also have a cover for this pan, because after we're done browning the chicken, we're actually going to have to let them simmer in the sauce for about 30 minutes, and we're going to want to cover it up during that time just to keep all the moisture inside. Okay, so just pop your 6 tablespoons of butter into the pan. Okay, so once we've got our butter melted like this, just make sure you adjust the heat so we don't get the butter kind of boiling. You just want to get it nice and melted, and just pop the chicken in to brown it. Just going to put these in. Now you can see with this pan, there's kind of a little bit of a ridge in the middle, so all the sauce kind of goes to the outside. So I'm actually just going to try to arrange these around the outside just so that they all sit in butter. Okay, so now we've got these all nice tightly packed in there. I'm just going to wait till we brown each of these sides, and then we'll slowly rotate them just so we get all the sides covered. And then we'll add in our wine and chicken bouillon and start cooking them down for 30 minutes to get that nice sauce going. Okay, so these chicken pieces are browning up pretty nicely, so I'm just going to continue to rotate them just to get all the pieces, raw chicken, kind of covered. Okay, so now that these are pretty much browned up, it's now time to add in our ½ cup of wine and our teaspoon of the Better Than Bouillon chicken stock. So we're just going to pour in the wine and lower our heat. I'm just going to add in this teaspoon here and mix that in with the wine sauce. So once you've added the chicken base and the wine, you just want to stir that together and just try to get that coming to a simmer. You definitely want to have a lower temperature than you did before when you're browning the chicken, but I just kind of wait until I just get some small bubbles going on in between the pieces of the chicken. I usually try to just rock the pan back and forth just to mix in that butter, wine, and the chicken base all together, make a nice even consistency with the sauce. Okay, so you can see now in between the pieces of chicken, we've got some bubbling action going. That's good. It's exactly what we want. It's going to lower our temperature just a tiny bit so that doesn't get out of control. And then I'm just going to rotate these pieces of chicken just once, and then we're going to cover it up. And then periodically between now and the end of the 30 minutes that we're going to let this sit, I might just rotate these through just to make sure that they're evenly cooking. We're going to cover that, set a timer for 30 minutes. I'm going to check back on these in about 10 minutes and we'll rotate them. Okay, so the first 10 minutes is up, so I'm just going to open up the pan and we're just going to flip these and let them sit for the next final 10 minutes. Okay, so our 30 minutes are up. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to take out the pinwheels and we're going to set them aside. and we're going to add in our heavy cream and make our sauce. So it's going to pull these out. Okay, and then to finish the sauce, I'm going to add 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, and then 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and this will just help thicken up the sauce. And whisk everything together. And we're going to bring the heat up a little bit just to make that sauce thicken up. Alright, I think our sauce has reached the consistency that I want it to be. So now we're just going to take this off, and to serve it, you just want to, it's going to take a pinwheel and put however much you want on the plate. Make sure you pull out those toothpicks before you try to eat this. Don't want anyone to hurt themselves on those toothpicks. And then just pour the sauce over to your heart's content. Like I said, this is also really delicious if you have rice on the side or some egg noodles. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. It's just one of our favorites. Thanks for watching NH Home and Brew. Keep an eye out for some of our later videos. We're going to be trying to share some of our other favorite recipes and stuff around the house.